Hi, look at this position. The position of queen and bishop in the corners isn't successful. It forces to fianchetto, and in case of this position, it should be double fianchetto. So we have already two pawn moves unknown. It's movement of pawns B and G, in order to open lines for the bishop and queen. Considering that bishop and queen are already on main diagonals, it means that lines of their actions passes through two central pawns for each piece. A common development pattern is when we develop pieces after movement of central pawns E and D. In our case, in order not to hinder bishop and queen, we need to build small pawn structure. As a result, it will be hedgehog pawn structure. Another way is to occupy the center by pawn. From my opponent, I expected a reasonable game, so he was also supposed to occupy the center by pawns. Most likely, there should be a position with a mutual blocked central black pawn and central white pawn. The advantages of moving pawn to squares is that it occupies the center and increases the space. The disadvantage of such move is that one of the corner pieces, queen or bishop, is limited in their mobility. Therefore, before the pawn become blocked, one of the decisions is to exchange the corner piece for some piece of equal value. Usually, a position with closed center comes up in position with mutually blocked pawns. In my previous videos, I told you about the law of mutual mistake, Tartakover's chess scissor. Here in this video, I want to show you and tell you about unpleasant features in closed position. The number of mistakes is much greater in closed positions. The reason for such unpleasant features deserve a separate topic. In this game, we will watch the mistakes that are inherent in closed positions, but we will not discuss the nature of these mistakes not to tire you. I know that in due time my teacher explained to me the nature of the occurrence of these mistakes. In this video, I want to draw your attention to the fact that the number of mistakes in closed positions is great. So let's start. G3, G6. Each of player has made the predictable moves. D3, D6, Bishop C3. One usually doesn't play hedgehog against hedgehog, so need to occupy the center with a pawn. Considering that it's opening, the promotion of the central pawn will be looked natural. But in that case, need to decide what to do with my bishop on h8. The most simple decision is to trade that bishop before preliminary preparation for e5. Knight f6, the mistake which we can compare the situation when you go up the slippery stairs. Then you stumble and go heels over head. When you are falling, there are no right movements. And you just have a mind to have this decent finished and better with less damage. So knight f6 is like that moment when you slip and lose your balance. And after it, you either recover your balance or you start to fall down. The fall cannot be infinite, but can be finished in stable position. It's good if it's without damage and you can continue your climbing. Otherwise, you need to refuse to climb or get ready for new climbing. f4, bishop to c6. My move is inaccuracy. It lets my opponent play right. Exchange and move the pawn to e4. That's what I had to do. It's exchange my bishop to his bishop on c3 and move the pawn to e5. But here there is the same situation, but with change of color. Knight to f3. My opponent also didn't understand that need to exchange on c6 and occupy the center. Knight to e6. Mistake. We both together chose the wrong way. We didn't manage to keep our balance and now we are falling. A series of mistakes starts from this time on. e4, castle, mistake. Knight e3, b6. Also our moves are mistakes. Castle, inaccuracy. a5, also inaccuracy. a4. Knight to c5, inaccuracy also. e5, mistake. Position now is equal. Knight to d5. Knight to d5. Bishop takes d5. d4, inaccuracy. It was necessary to take care of the strongest piece. Develop queen. Knight to e4. An attempt to stop the fall, but unsuccessfully. Queen to a3. Bishop c4. Mistake. It was necessary to play f6 to open the position. Knight to g5. Bishop takes f1. Knight takes e4. The mistake. Now the position is equal. White should play bishop takes e4, not knight. Queen a6. And knight takes h7. White wins the pawn. So my opponent plays knight takes e4. Queen a6. By my move I have stopped falling, but my opponent continues falling. Bishop f3, the blunder. Starting from now until the end of the game, black has the advantage. I don't say how to play right after mistakes, because there are many mistakes here. Bishop to e2, bishop takes e2, queen takes bishop. The queen has sneaked in the opponent's camp. My position is advantageous, because I stopped falling and now I'm staying steady and watching as my opponent is raising bumps. It takes d6, it takes d6, rook e1, queen takes h2, d5, one more mistake, rook f e8, bishop takes h8, a mistake, rook takes e4, the tactical trick. I want to make a fork. Rook takes e4, queen h1, check, and the fork. King d2, queen takes e4, bishop f6, queen d5, check, king to c1, queen h1 check, king d2, queen g2 check, king d1, queen f1 check, king d2, queen f2 check, king to d1, rook e8, queen c3, rook e2. My opponent resides the game. There were a lot of mistakes in the game. The development of my queen affected the result of the game. The queen is a strong piece. For this reason, need to take care of its developing. Its activity markedly affects the evaluation. Our queens were in corners, so a player who developed his queen earlier gets some advantage, or at least initiative. I have managed to develop my queen early with the help of my opponent. So now conclusion. There can be many mistakes in a close position if you chose the wrong plan. I'm comparing this situation with a fall. When one is climbing the slippery stairs, the chances of winning are rising for a player who can activate his forces early, who can stop falling and rise to his feet. In this game I managed to activate my queen, and I win the game. That's all. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.